Yeah, I should probably like open up the thing, shouldn't I? While we're switching everything over, did you see the subscriber perks? The subscriber items?
The mugs, right? Is that it?
Yes, the mugs, the whale, the big bennies, and the
Mm-hmm.
cat.
I want the whale one in real life badly.
I mean, they have them in the UK office. They've been all over the UK office and all over the ever constant,
Yeah,
always
I mean
constant.
they've made them physically. They just I don't think they've been on the store that I've seen. Otherwise, I would have if they were on the store and I had seen them, I would have bought one
Oh yeah, same. Like
Yeah,
either they were
because I have both
fan
plushes.
made and put in, or they're still in prototype.
Oh, yep.
'Cause I know, like watching Linus make his screwdrivers, prototype takes a long time, especially when you
Hmm.
have a goal in mind.
Yeah.
All right, 28th, right? 28th of June.
Yep.
All right. Okay, so as we'd like to do at the beginning of when we're reading CIG documents is to read the header, because that lets us know the intent of the document we're about to read. So, the header for the Roadmap Roundup, June 28th, 2023. Happy Wednesday, everyone. Interesting. It is Wednesday. We rarely read these on Wednesday. Every 2 weeks, we accompany the roadmap update with a brief explanatory note to give you insight into the decision making that led to any changes. This is part of an effort to make our communications more transparent, more specific, and more insightful for all of you who help make Star Citizen and Squadron 42 possible. With that said, let's go ahead and dive into this week's Roadmap Roundup, the CIG community team. All right.
Alrighty. So, and these like they, it's good that they went over these in the ISC or the new the cover up salvage missions. Like for me, I wasn't expecting them to do anything like this at all. And I I don't know how because if you remember the reasoning they gave is people were just they were just salvaging, yeeting the weapons and stuff into their cargo grids because they're, in components, because they're worth more money.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, no, we want you to do the hull scraping. And so it's like, okay, well then, instead of um you know I don't know, these missions just seem kind of weird to me because it's like you're
Very
doing hull
gimmicky.
scraping. Yeah, it's very gimmicky. Well, let's read the description. So, new missions, salvage contracts, cover up. So, players will be contracted to strip the gang markings and paint off a ship that was used in a crime or war crime that the gang doesn't want to get caught for. Security forces will also be searching for the ship to confirm and prosecute whoever had committed the crime. This is, like even more gimmicky and lame than taking the like removing the plates off a stolen car, you know, because
That's
it's the
true. We had
30th century.
transponders. Hold on. Wait a
We've
minute.
got
We had transponders.
transponders and all this digital signature stuff. Like you're telling me that a scan, a scan of the ship doesn't tell you more information than the visual. Oh well, that's not the ship we're looking for because it doesn't have the right paint job. Like that, I don't know. It just
Yeah,
I feel like
it
there is a
seems like
better way
a
to incentivize people to do hull scraping than
and the thing is, like, one, you could have just made the stupid salvage material more profitable if you wanted people to do it. But I also think this is another, like, this could very well be a new dev on the team. Like, here's the tools, go make a salvage mission.
yeah. That's
Um
a fair assessment too. I
like
I, I would have gone with
this this definitely
payouts.
didn't.
You
Yeah.
know, gosh, I don't like. You could just say that that there's a shortage of because like the RMC is used to patch holes in ships, and there's a shortage of the material for hull patching. There's a shortage of hull metal, due to a worker strike on Hurston, and just do payouts for going and salvage. I don't know. It just
Which makes me think a lot more like this was...
paying people to do it. It's just that the description of why is weird to me.
Yeah, the description of why and the entire ISC bit was a bit forced. But it's variety, and if people don't want to do the whole scraping, they're not going to pick up this mission anyway. So having this in the game or not in the game doesn't really matter that much. If they're just going for the weapons, they'll still just go for the weapons.
Yeah.
This changes nothing for that style of gameplay. So I'm definitely... More missions are better than less missions, in my opinion, just because even the missions you never take, let's say all the private missions, because I play mostly lawful, and I don't do land claim or mining claims because they take too long. Just having them there as something that goes on in the world adds a bit more flavor to it. So adding this, some punk that thinks that scraping paint off of a ship is going to work wants their paint scraped off at X location before the cops arrive. Flavor. So, maybe they're like kind of forced into a hole with being between the economy, resource management, and server meshing and all this other stuff that they're working on. They can't do anything with the stuff that they're going to show off at CitizenCon or announce or anything. We're just past PES actually existing. So I imagine the gameplay teams are in a weird spot right now. And again, this might be just a new hire saying, here are the modules to build missions. Go make one. And this is what they came up with.
Yeah. Yeah, it's,
low on lore, low on touching other systems.
Yeah. Yeah, and until, like, because I'm reasonably certain that Quanta will determine the payouts for everything you salvage, and, if there's lots of repair going on, then you're going to need lots of whole goo, and so the money for it should be pretty reasonable. And, the other thing is, Night Cob's talking about, I feel like they dropped the component and weapon prices that drives to do RMC. And I think you're probably right on that. And I do hope, and I don't know if it's in game. If it is, correct me if I'm wrong. I just haven't noticed it when I've been stripping them because I've only been doing it for 2 days now. But having variations in the health, I guess, or durability of a component or weapon, I think is also good because you can, you go to pull it off, you go to scan it, and you're like, oh, okay, well, that thing's like only got whatever the Star Citizen equivalent is for 30% durability left. It won't sell for jack. I'm not going to take that. But this ship is just abandoned, and they do have it to agree. Okay, yeah, because that's the thing. It was like if you soft death a ship, or even if you full death a ship and you pull the weapons off, it's like, yeah, they should be pretty banged up. But if you disable a ship or find a ship that somebody just left and they're 100%, it's like, oh yeah, I'm going to totally take that, because it's just like with a used car. If it has 5,000 versus 100,000 miles.
Yeah, where mining was able to just build their entire system from the ground up. Salvage is one of those, it touches kind of everything. It touches materials, it touches components, it touches ships as a whole. Like, it touches repair, which is also rearm and refuel. So it's they can't really do much forward pushing without these other systems growing up next to them. So, like, they can't really do a whole lot with components doing a whole lot. They can't really do much with, like, the big thing they said they wanted to add is the difference in material with hole munching, where you can actually, like, there'll be titanium on it, there'll be, barrel and other things, like, inside the metals. So pulling the metal structure and refining that down into its base components is going to be a big part of salvage, not just the goo. And then that's another big part of repair, is you'll buy resources to rebuild your ship hulls, not just the goo. So, like, but that needs resource management and hull munching and the economy. So yeah, I don't hate this thing being in there. I just think it, like you said, is super gimmicky.
Yeah. So that's another mission that was added to the release view. I think there's a good potential that we could maybe get a couple more just because how much they're working on, but it really just depends on when. When is 320? Night Cobb's in chat. Because we were talking about this. And, but yeah, I think that's the other really interesting thing is they just added another thing to the release view, but then a whole bunch of things got their status toggled to committed, which is really interesting.
Yeah.
And to see things committed this early,
Lends a lot of credence to your August prediction.
Yeah.
So why don't we read off the descriptions of all the things here? We'll go one after the other, and then we'll talk about the implications of it being done so early. So you read the description of the last one, so I'll take the first one. Arena Commander front end update. Replacement of the current electronic access front end. This makes switching modes, vehicles, loadouts, as well as creating lobbies a more fluid experience, as well as giving developers the tools to adjust features and create new ones more easily.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to playing around with that, just because like I used to play a lot of Star Marine. I've never been much of a dogfighter, but Star Marine has always been clunky, and so I'm very much looking forward to it, being more streamlined and user friendly, and not having to do, I'm very much hoping to not have to do workarounds, just to change your inventory, get into matches and stuff.
Now, CIG, I know you don't listen to these, and I know you're not here. However, to the universe that can communicate with CIG, can you add a button to copy loadout from PT or PU? That would be a great feature.
Yeah.
Because if you're doing FPS missions in the persistent universe and your loadout is fine-tuned, you don't want to spend the next half an hour trying to fine-tune it in the game. Just copy from PU. That would be great. That would be absolutely amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, even if it comes with like the price tag of, hey, you need to rent these items, just like copy PU, cost this much. Yes. Done.
I would love for, here's my loadout. I want to save it to this slot, and then you're able to like pull up that slot in the PU, and then it gives you, oh, you don't have it? Okay, here's a shopping list. And here are the locations where you can get these, the known locations where you can get these items. You can, being able to click on the item and see where it's sold would be just a fantastic feature. Because we have all these third-party tools for doing that, but it's like that information should be in game because the information is in the game. They just have to make the tool to do it. North End Trooper, all right, kid is asleep, guns up, let's do this. Leroy Jenkins, yeah. You could probably hear it earlier, right as we were getting started, but my wife just finished bath time. She's normally it would have been me, and we would have been starting later, but I asked if we could get started earlier. Because this will be a long episode, so you could hear the kids screeching earlier.
Thank you very much.
Let's see. Nightcop says we need reputation gates for items more than that. Yeah, I'm very much looking forward to not only things, not just having to loot them, but having a reputation gate to be able to buy them. To give people even more of a reason to do certain missions and to do missions with certain organizations. I'm hoping that because the reputation system is under the purview of the mission feature team, right? That's who it got moved to?
Yeah.
That, because they did talk about that in the last monthly report a little bit, as well as in this month's monthly report, I think it was. So they are working on it, the reputation system. The question is, the basics are there, the foundation is there. How much work is it to implement more things?
There is actually a possible blocker for those. Mission Manager app. Alongside converting to building blocks, this feature includes the UI or updated UI in support of the dynamic mission system. This also includes the ability for players to see the reputational requirements for mission content. So that might be what they're waiting for to implement stronger support for reputation gates.
That does make sense. It is unfortunate, but it makes sense.
Yes.
Before we continue, Shiny Hobo just donated $15 to stackup.org. Thank you so much for your donation, Shiny Hobo. We very much appreciate you. And if you are following along and hanging out in chat, you probably noticed the little messages from Moobot. I wonder if I can change the name. I want to change it to Crayola Bot or something, or Crayon Bot.
Matt Cranbot, we're not using brand names.
Yeah. Was that in the monthly report, Naz? Was that this month's or
That's just the roadmap.
Okay.
Okay,
for the mission manager app.
Yeah. I just looked up reputation.
Cool. Good thought. But yeah, if you're not aware, this is your first time hanging out in chat, or just to remind everybody, I don't take any monetization from Twitch and YouTube. Goes directly to stackup.org. So you can either donate directly and they get 100% of that, whether it's, just going, it's better if you go through the link that's in chat versus the little button thing that's on Twitch. Because Twitch does take out money for fees versus the link does not. And then if you, and if you hate commercials and you don't want to watch ads while you're hanging out with Naz and I, or Nightcob and I when we're doing Armchair Admirals and Generals, or when I'm streaming, you can sub, and I donate 100% of that money directly to stackup.org, as well as a contribution from myself to round it up to the nearest $100. So please consider subscribing. If you're not already subscribed to my YouTube channel, please consider doing that as well. So that way I start getting ad revenue, because I'm a YouTube partner now, but I don't get ad revenue until 1,000, and I'm at 971. So tell all your friends. Anyway, so Arena Commander new racetracks. Test your racing prowess in Euterpe Icebreaker, Miner's Lament, the Snake Pit, and Yadar Valley. So the racetracks that we have in the PU are being added, or confirmed to be added to 320. As some of the first persistent universe locations to enter Arena Commander, alongside Halloran Circuit, a brand new racetrack on the New Horizons Speedway. So it's at New Horizons Speedway, but I guess it's just a different layout of the track. I guess if all those floating buildings and things are there, they can probably push buttons and then they're float around and reorganize themselves. The Arena Commander New Horizons Speedway rework. So that's the one we were just talking about. One of Star Citizen's oldest locations gets its long-awaited update. The 3 Murray Cup racetracks hosted in the New Horizons Speedway have had their tracks improved and location moved to the holiday resort planet Green, the 3rd planet of the LS system. So now it's officially the planet Green, below the planet. And you can actually abandon the race pretty much and fly down to the surface and look around. Obviously,
first thing I'm doing in 320.
Yeah. I don't think you're going to find any spoilers or anything like that. The landing zones aren't there, but the planet with, the biome and stuff is there. So that's cool.
So, fun fact. The 2 teams working on the Mission Manager app are the MFT, Mission Feature Team, and the USPU Gameplay Team. Those are both upstream teams. Those both are, MFT ends in August. USPU ends in late October for some reason.
Well, and we're still due for more Q4 updates. We don't have all of the Q4.
We're still more? I thought we had the 2 normally. But it's already in Q4. But it's early Q4.
Yeah. I'm just saying, not all the teams. So, have their Q4 update. Yeah. But the good thing is those are both upstream teams. And if those 2 teams are working on it, it means that they are building the app, and that it doesn't suggest that the UI tech team is having to build them anything. It's, hey, we have our own UI people, that are able to use building blocks to make the app for us. We don't have to rely on this other team to build it for us, because that's what building blocks is for. So that way the UI teams don't have to, or that the other teams don't have to rely on the UI teams as much, or the UI tech and UI feature. So,
Yes.
for less support than they were previously. The other thing that's interesting to me is, and if we'll be reading the monthly reports
Next
we have
week.
to figure out, next week, probably Monday. But if you haven't checked out the PU monthly report already, they are working on a map for the Tank Royale. Instead of I forget which moon it was. Was it Magda?
Yeah.
That one didn't pass its what's the call for the review?
There's several of them. There's
It didn't pass its go no go, and so instead they're making a map for it. Yeah, there you go, Magda. They're making a map for it on Lear 2,
yeah.
outside the Good Doctor. So there's an image for it, and you can see that you're on Lear 2, and the building base thing for the Good Doctor Star Marine map is in the background. Yeah, it was boring
so
looking.
I haven't
Was
got
not
to
fun.
see it. I assume this is a quote from it. It failed its final review because it was boring looking.
Yeah.
Tell me they
Just
actually
wasn't-
said that.
I think it probably just didn't have enough interesting terrain, obstacles, maybe too open. So,
What
Yeah,
would have been
so-
a perfect, or what would be a perfect map for something like that?
well, the interesting part to me is that they built, for them to do that, I think they probably did the same thing that they did for New Horizon, is they built Lear 2. And
Lear
put
2
the
they already
map
built
on
before
there.
the Good Doctor. They said that back when they added the Good Doctor. Hey, this
Was it?
is a planet. This is the planet tech. So they
Oh,
probably
okay.
just polished Good Doctor and said, hey,
Yeah.
let's just go out of the borders and build a tank
Mm-hmm.
arena. But what I think would be a great vehicle arena is outside of Levski.
Oh man, the terrain there is nuts.
It is like there's elevation, but there's also like corridors and fields and things. I think it'd be like shelling people across the giant hole, like the giant quarry.
Yeah.
That'd be so cool. And also like trying to like weave in the weird garage area, especially if we're doing like tanks versus cyclones kind of game
Oh
mode.
man, that low G would just be nuts.
Mm-hmm.
Having a Nova going just straight General Lee, beep, 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 beep. Yeah.
All right, so the next one is Jericho.
Yeah.
All right, Array Commander, new dogfighting map, Jericho Station. Stanton's INS Jericho debuted as the newest location for all dogfighting game modes in Array Commander. This true zero-G open space environment has players face off with new distractions and high performance in the lightest, with few distractions and high performance in the lightest of all of our maps. Why not just make an open map? Why not just have an empty map for like the lightest map? But like, yes, I agree this is a good idea, but could just make an open map. maybe it's too boring.
I think they went with that also because some of the modes are going to have like the turrets firing at you. So because you have Jericho Station and Security Post Korea.
Yeah.
And so in those modes, they did talk about it in the ISC that there would be modes where you're getting shot at by not only the other fighters, but the turrets are making your, well, depending on server FPS, the turrets are making your life hell.
Can we get a low atmo
Yes.
Lorville
dogfighting map.
dogfighting?
Mhm.
I want Lorville as a dogfighting map.
Yeah.
Weaving
Especially once
between all
we
the
have
buildings.
cooler atmospheric flight with the master
Mhm.
modes and the control surfaces and thruster efficiency curves. Like that'll be.
Yep. And actually, there's an atmospheric map down later. So if you want to take Echo 11.
Yeah. That brings up a question though, because Axis said, by the way, Seraphim has a bounty hunter check-in station. So it's basically their plan is to use the where the javelin and the Idris and all that dock for Invictus Launch Week. That's going to be
So-
like the security station for all the low Earth orbit stations, and so
And
that's
they
going to be
actually-
one of the places where you can turn in bounties.
Yeah, so it was interesting. They didn't call them Navy docking ports like we all assumed they were. They called them security docks, which
Yeah.
means more than just the Navy use them. They're not just proprietary. You must make a station where we're allowed to dock only. They're high security docks.
Yeah,
And so that would make sense why you check in bounties there. It's the police.
Navy
It's
will
where
check
Dooley's
in
going to be.
there. Yeah, the Microtech Security or Hurston Security or whoever Crusader has contracted will be operating there, and that will be one of the locations you can turn in bounties.
Do we know where Dooley is?
I don't know where she's actually like headquartered.
I know.
But, like-
I know they said like which office. I just don't remember if they told us where the office
That would
was.
be
I
super
swear it
cool if Jericho gets an interior and you can go see her.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that would be
I would-
awesome.
Nightclub said I would assume Jericho, but I thought it was Crusader. I thought she was in Orison.
I don't know. If,
What-
if
'cause
there's
what-
any
what's the-
indication,
what's the
I don't
crew?
know.
What's the? Because there was a lot of talk. There's a whole story about the security officer. What is the called? Not CBD. What's the force called? The civilian CDF.
CDF.
Civilian Defense Force. Because she's the CDF liaison.
Yes,
I'm
but
pretty sure
she's
the
with
CDF
the
is-
advocacy. So would she be working out of an advocacy office on a Navy station? Because we do know Jericho is a Navy station. It isn't just a security port. It's a
So
naval
would
station.
a advocacy officer be on a Navy?
Yeah, could be.
Okay,
I could see that.
that's there's
I just
lots
think
of
it-
layers here.
I think that those areas should have, I'm looking forward to those areas having interiors, not just you walk into here's this thing that's open to space, and you're gonna walk in there and that's all there is to it. It's like, no, it's a massive structure. There should be an interior in there, and places you can drop off military supplies and mission givers, those sorts of things,
And there
like,
should
not only
definitely-
for the security the security docks, but also Jericho.
There's also I forget what the name of it, but there's like a senior member that's just there to like educate people. I forget there's a name for those the show. There's definitely be one of those. You just walk in, you're able to see this person, and they could like tell you stories about the Navy or whatnot. I forget what they're called, but there's some I forget. There definitely is a thing. I just forget what they're called. They're really
Yeah,
cool. Just go
advocacy
talk
is
to-
kind of like NCIS. Yeah, it's definitely, just almost like a conglomeration of like military intelligence meets CIA meets FBI. It's a
with
weird-
local police.
yeah, it's a weird mix of law enforcement plus intelligence. Yeah.
Okay, I need to make myself a note somewhere. Where should I make myself a note?
Arena Commander new elimination map Echo 11. The FPS map Echo 11, previously exclusive to the game mode Control, has a new variant tailored for elimination. I wonder how they change it up. It'll be interesting to see that. I'm interested in Echo 11 and what's the other map in Arena Commander? It's a station.
Echo 11 and Damien. Comms.
Damien. Yeah. I talked about both of those in my boarding actions video because
Which is a
essentially
good
that's-
video, and you all should go watch it.
You should, yes, because those are examples of boarding actions in the lore, and that's what essentially what you're doing, in those arranged commander scenarios. It's more like the Inquisition, but you don't suspect the Inquisition. You never suspect the UEE Inquisition. Next one, you.
Next one, me. Arena Commander, new dogfight map, the Winter Circle. We talked about the atmospheric map a couple minutes ago. Alongside the reworked new Horizon Speedway maps comes a long requested atmospheric map for dogfighting modes. Battle in the Earth-like atmosphere above the beautiful planet Green, the third planet in the Ellis system. This is definitely and this is going to be cool when it comes out, but even cooler as we get the proper, what's it called? Hard surface, flaps, aerodynamic bits. What are they called? What's the feature called?
Control surfaces.
Control surfaces.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
yes.
I'm very interested in this one because I am very much in need of a safe space to practice my hot drops with my Valkyrie. And I want to know if with this dogfighting map, because you're in atmosphere and there's a planet below you, can I just, over and over and over again, practice my hot drops in my Valkyrie using the method that I learned. And I need to find that video again. I have it saved in one of my playlists somewhere. But there's a great video about from from a content creator who figured out a few little hints, tips, tricks regarding VTOL mode and landing mode that allows you to do pretty amazing hot drops. And I got decent at it like a year ago, and I haven't had much time to play in the last year, so I'm out of practice. But I feel like this would be the perfect place to be able to practice something like that, where, oh, okay, well, blew up the Valkyrie. All right, respawn another one. Let's do this again.
Look, I have Star Citizen play, and I exclusively fly bricks in Star Citizen Night Cub. I don't have time to look up how to fly nicely built planes. New fun fact, Ellis...
You with your elitist aerodynamics. Yeah.
So, Ellis is right on the other side of Magnus, which is where Drake is placed, and we keep getting little nudges about Magnus recently. So yeah, Stanton, Magnus, Ellis.
Mm-hmm. And the last map is Arena Commander, new map, Security Post Korea, one of the new additions to Arena Commander from the Persistent Universe. Security Post Korea will host all of our Arena Commander game modes, both FPS and dogfighting, except for Classic Race. I'm very much looking forward to doing Star Marine on Security Post Korea. I think that'll be a lot of fun. It's going to be really good to have. We're going to have 4 maps now. We have Damien, Echo 11, the Good Doctor, and Security Post Korea. So, and hopefully this means that they can get us even more maps in short order, because they said that one of the things they talked about is they've been working on their pipeline in order to make it very easy and quick for them to bring in locations from the PU, which means that if they can build anything, they can make it an FPS map. So like I think it'd be really cool to have
just RCorp. Area 18.
I mean, it could be a thing. They could. I mean, they could take assets from like that and make a map, as well as like when they get the UGFs in. Mm-hmm. That could be really cool.
Yeah, if we just have like a UGF in, because as they keep saying, or as they said when they were talking about how they're building it, they are being built to support every kind of gameplay. Not that we have, but that's been pitched.
Yeah.
So the whole shebang. So just a UGF that they just keep chucking, and they can use that for experimental modes. Like, hey, there's this new gameplay system coming online. Here, check it in the UGF.
Ghost Hollow, shiny, yeah, good idea.
I like Ghost Hollow. Cool. The only problem I have with Ghost Hollow is the ship interior is really linear for a FPS map, because it's built properly, not like a Starfarer, not like it's supposed to be an FPS map.
But having a mix of your inside the shipwreck as well as running around on the ground, that could be really interesting. And then what's the new derelict location that's the MSR and the 600i?
Do they have names? Called?
Doesn't it have a name? I haven't been to it yet. I've gotten to play Star Citizen. Whistling Script. Thank you. I've had 2 days of Star Citizen since I got back from active duty, and other than that, I have not touched Star Citizen since like January. That's how busy I was before I left, and so I missed.
So I have no excuses,
lot.
but I only just got to Lorville 2.0 last night, and that's basically like the only new place I've gone.
That was I wanted to. I got out and did some retrieval missions just because I wanted to try and find some relics and do some salvage with the tractor beam, but I haven't had a chance to make it over to Whistler's Crypt, and I need to figure out how you get the mission to go there. Just because like I want to have a reason other than
it's on Daymar.
Yeah. Incredible
Damar's
design
pretty.
and being there when the sun comes up on Daymar. Chef's kiss, highly recommend. Very cool. Yeah, that would be really awesome to get some good footage. Retrieval ops and bounties go there. Okay, so I just need to look for retrievals in around Crusader then.
Oh, good. I'll be doing lots of retrieval ops because I just lost a whole bunch of stuff in the game.
Mm-hmm.
I had set up an M2 as basically my stuff ship. So there was like 8 vehicles inside of it: a Pisces, a Mole, Cyclone TR, MT, AA, Stock, and then the Ursa and the Steve. And I had like player 1 SCU boxes for utility items, food items, weapon attachments, and I was getting more for ammo stuff. And then we lost it in the middle of space because it kicked the driver into space when he was quantum traveling. That was great. It's great. But yeah, so we need to do. I'm going to be doing that next couple days, rebuilding that ship. And then let's see. You do the Korea post?
Yep.
Okay. Ship trespass. Wah wah wah. The team is taking additional time with this feature in order to further flesh it out, account for additional edge cases, and solve many issues as possible. Therefore, we are removing this card from the release view temporarily until we add our next major release column. So they are pretty confident that it will come in 321.
Yeah.
Upper end for 4.0. That's basically what we have to say for every patch now.
Yeah, they're basically saying that there's a few more edge cases that they think that they're going to work on, and they just want to make sure that it's a little bit well-rounded. Morphologist actually did a really good video on this feature, and I think that's probably part of the reason why that they pulled this, because he did
one.
There's been a couple that detailed some of the edge cases that they didn't talk about, and whether they considered them or not, I don't know. But I'm glad for it. I would much rather it be less or more difficult to abuse, or and more properly functional, I guess would be the way to put it.
I had just found. I think he. Yeah, no, I got him for the watch party from the content creators Discord. Where did he go? Red J makes great videos, and you all should go subscribe to him on YouTube, because Red J is just good at the content he does. It's very thought out, very very much like
he's a big fan of the lore too. He does lore readings.
Ray's Guide, very much like Ray's Guide. So shout out to him, because he's also going to help me not be alone on Citizen Gun Day. Everyone's going to be there. Hopefully, I'm hoping that it does shake out like I think it's going to shake out, and that there will be a lot of stuff to do for people who are stuck at home on Citizen Con Day, because they're going to be doing stuff in the game. And that way we get some nice perks, as well as the people who get to be there. Not as nice as being there and meeting all the fellow citizens, but at least we get something. All right. And that has been the Roadmap Roundup for June 28th. The next Roadmap Roundup we get in a week, we'll start the Q3 downstream update.
Yeah, because that's...
And I am super excited.
Well, and poor Jake. Jake was dealing with some family issues, and it's just been that and planning for CitizenCon, which is his team. And so he told me that he has a lot of stuff to add to the roadmap for Q4. And so there's a lot that still needs to be added. What is like a good way to, and we'll get to that here in a second. But you'll see that there's a lot of unassigned people when you look at the scheduled deliverables thing, because the roadmap needs so much added to it that Jake just had, unfortunately it isn't a, Jake has to pull these updates from the teams and their JIRAs and their schedules manually, or he gets these updates and then he has to manually input them into the progress tracker and the roadmap. It isn't Jake doesn't have a bot that takes everything from the JIRA and the the different schedulers that they use in order to make the progress tracker. He has to do it manually. Unlike, thankfully we have Shiny Hobo, who has made an amazing bot to pull from the ShinyTracker or pull from the progress tracker. We don't. Jake has to do the ShinyTracker, old school, and that's again one of the things that they have plans for, but they haven't had a chance to do it, so that way it all gets input manually. And then because the other thing is Jake has to put those things in manually, and then he also has to scrub things to make sure that things don't go in there that aren't supposed to be there, or they are or the things that go in there are unannounced if they're supposed to be.
Can't he like I'll help Jake. I'll sign the NDA. I promise I won't talk about anything.
If Jake's team had the budget and I could do that job remotely, I'd do it. I'd quit medicine. My wife can't hear me downstairs, but if she could, she'd be yelling and you guys could hear it. No, you're not. North End Trooper, thank you so much for the $5 donation directly to stackup.org. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I need to come up with a turn of phrase like Paul has when he gets subs. You're a very important pubber, very impressive pisser. I need to think of something like that.
All I can say is sit it. Just take a nice 5 hours of your day, sit down in front of your computer with a blank text file, and then just die. That's how you figure those out. I forget. I think it was there was a famous writer that basically said that. I think it was Alex Pierce or something. Guy has like 400 books published.
I wonder if I could make it so a sound alert automatically plays when somebody does a donation.
Chinese crayons in the box. Basically, it's just like you sit there with it open.
Takers and heartbreakers. We shoot them full of holes and fill them full of lead.
I think he said like it's easy to write a book. You just sit staring at a blank page until you bleed. Yeah, that's basically writing.
So that's it for the Roadmap Roundup. Let's take a look at the Delta report and the scheduled deliverables report. Yeah, I like that soundbite too. That's if you're not aware, that is from Full Metal Jacket, which I'm a former Marine, so I've seen that a gazillion times. Yeah,
they play it for day one on everything, just every day one.
I don't know if it's a requirement everywhere, but I was required to watch it with the other recruit poolies before I shipped off for boot camp. So, yeah, my recruiter forced me to do it. I actually had a decent recruiter, so the whole thing. Yeah. So, we've got the Delta report up, and so if this is your first time hanging out with us when we do the Roadmap Roundups, we always take a look at the ShinyTracker reports. You've seen Shiny Hobo, who is the creator of ShinyTracker, in chat. He's very active in our Discords. Super awesome resource for getting the most information out of the progress tracker, because there's a lot of information that is, I guess, under the hood of the progress tracker that is not displayed on the progress tracker, and this gives you a lot more accurate context. Yeah, that's a lot of Kubrick. So the progress tracker Delta report, what it does is it shows you what has changed on the progress tracker from the previous update to the current update. So if especially when it's the beginning of the new quarter, especially in the first month when we're getting the updates for the upstream and downstream teams. That's when you'll see a lot of stuff changing on this, because you'll see work getting added. And that's the big context thing that a lot of people don't understand, is people are like, oh, okay, well, CIG is just delaying it. Oh, it got delayed again, It's like, no, this is how far out these teams are scheduled. And they knew that they were going to keep working on it, but they only schedule things out for these teams this far in advance. That's how software development and a lot of product development works, is especially in anything IT and technology, is teams, people aren't working on things for years in advance, or they'll be working on individual things for short periods of time. And as things change, they have to pivot. That's why CIG uses Agile, in order to be able to be flexible based off of what's going on, so that teams aren't scheduled for things for long periods of time, unless that's how their particular team operates. And that's why we have upstream teams and downstream teams. And even the upstream teams get their schedules changed quite a bit based off what they're working on. I need to pull up the roadmap companion, because the way you know which teams are upstream and which teams are downstream is by looking at the public roadmap companion, and the link is at the bottom of every roadmap roundup. So the companion, and you scroll down here, and now you have a list of upstream and downstream teams. Where is my research tree? Yeah. Okay, so 26 deliverables were updated that are on the progress tracker. So the first one, additional derelict settlements. So we knew that they were planning on getting these out for 319. They didn't quite make it. And so as far as I know, the 15 new ones that are planned, which is what they had talked about when they did the ISC on it. Naz, you're a little bit closer to your mic because I can hear myself coming through your headphones.
Sorry.
It's okay.
I was just about to say something too.
When they talked about that in ISC, I think last quarter, they said that they had 15 new ones planned, and that in the time that it took them to make Whistler's Crypt and the other one, I always forget. They now that they've updated their pipeline and continued to work on their tools, because it's the procedural locations tool is for derelict settlement, or no, is it derelict settlements? Yeah. And they've updated that to the point where now they can get 15. They're able to make 15 of them in the same amount of time. So they've increased their productivity with the same amount of people by 1.5 orders of magnitude, which is pretty incredible. So if you like Whistler's Crypt, you like what's the other one with the Reclaimer? Ghost Hollow. We're getting a lot more of those.
And nicer ones. More ground location-y ones.
Yeah, and so, but they're going to continue to make a lot of these. That's why EU Sandbox 1 was assigned and added a bunch more work out to the end of the year, because they're just going to keep on churning these out and filling up the universe with them, both in Stanton and in Pyro.
And the analogy I like using for the roadmap and the lengthening of bars is Fog of War.
Yep,
so currently the Fog of War
very good
is like our current Fog of War barrier is 12/14/23. So if you ever see one of the things go out to 12/14/23, it means that is at the edge of our view distance until.
And that's the Fog of War barrier for the upstream teams.
Was it till we get to the end of Q3, I believe, is when we'll start getting the first sort of the first quarter of next year, but not really, because.
Well, so we are still getting the Q4 update, which is supposed to come in the beginning of Q2, and we're just starting Q3, so that's how far behind Jake is. They still have to. Nightcob says, "Got a bill for bed, y'all. Have a good night. I'll catch up with the VOD. Good to see you, Nightcob. Yeah, we will have to catch up and see if maybe we can get together with ammo. If I can get on this weekend, I should be available a bit here and there. But yeah, that'd be fun. So have a good night, get some rest. I know you're probably still exhausted from your vacation. Anyway, so yeah, so there's a lot of work that has to get added to the progress tracker because Jake has to add in Q4 for the upstream teams, and as well as this month, Jake has to start adding in Q1 for the upstream teams, because basically you have the previous quarter, the current quarter, and the 2 quarters after. So we're going into the current quarter will be Q3, here because we're now in July. And so we should have Q3, Q4, and then Q1, and then Q2 behind us. That's how, that's the year that we see.
Yeah. For the upstream teams, yeah.
Yeah, for the upstream teams. But that means Jake also still has to add in Q3 for the downstream teams in this next month. So Jake needs help. And I wish Jake had help, not only because A, selfishly I want more information, but B, the community team is overworked, underpaid, and understaffed. And
I don't even care about getting the inside information at this point. Like, dude, I want to help the community team. Like the amount of crap they're gonna have to go through for Synchron to get that ready is just. If I could have volunteered this year, totally would have. I may, because I actually found someone else who wants to go that is also an offline friend. So I may be able, assuming I have money, I may try and volunteer next year, assuming it's in the U.S. I'm hoping it's going to move to Texas next year. I know that's not their normal cadence. Their cadence is Manchester after.
No, if they go Frankfurt
after, then Texas. But basically, next time it's in the U.S., I should go. And hopefully I will have the gusto to volunteer and help set up.
I would love to do that. I think it'd be an amazing experience. I have experience organizing conferences. This is my second year organizing a outdoor clinical conference, which is next month in Colorado. Obviously a lot smaller, but I have experience doing it. So yeah, help me, hire me.
Hey, they're looking for a bilingual French-English community manager.
Yeah.
Data analyst, gameplay capture artist, temp event coordinator, and video editor. Nobody on Jake's team.
But this is additional derelict settlements is part of the updates to Q4 for upstream because EU and Montreal Sandbox are both upstream teams. Artificial Gravity had its had work added, taking it from mid-August to mid-October. But EU Gameplay Feature Team added 31 days of work. But the EU Gameplay Feature Team is an upstream team. So we know that Artificial Gravity has been worked on a lot. It's been mentioned a lot in the monthly reports. So
why don't I see that?
Are you looking at scheduled deliverables?
Yes. 628. I see settlements, AI perception, asteroid facilities. That's all A's I have.
628. I see additional derelict settlements, artificial gravity, and asteroid facilities. So here, I'll refresh it. You're looking at 628?
Scroll all the way up to the page, over the top. What am I looking at? Oh! I read it. I scheduled deliverables. Look at that. Where is the page that I was on previously? I don't have it. I clicked on the wrong one. It's fine. It's fine, everyone.
Yeah. If I could work remotely for CIG, I absolutely would do it if they had something that I could do for them. But most everybody, they want to be able to at least be partly in office. So,
yeah, and they don't want community members getting a hold of behind the scenes stuff, because as they try with Eva Kari, they sign an NDA and it's always broken.
This
So
podcast
I
would
don't blame them at all.
have to go away. But I could stick to an NDA. I have a top secret clearance, so I put that on the resume.
Not gonna talk about that
so
at all.
This
No
part
recent
makes me
events.
sad. I'm hoping that maybe that work will get reassigned at some point as they can, soon. But the weird thing is, so asteroid facilities had work removed for EU Sandbox 1. And so I think they're prioritizing the derelict settlements and UGFs over the asteroid facilities. That said, the asteroid facilities was just artists. So it looked like they were just doing the concept art, early white box stuff anyway.
Which means they're probably done with all that.
Yeah, and so maybe they got
pretty
done
screenshots eventually.
Yeah, maybe they got done what they wanted to get done, and we'll see some of it sooner rather than later. Could be, we don't know. The ATC service, they talked about this recently with the systemic services and tools in the monthly reports. So that's getting more work. But that's one of those. The ATC service is a big deal for server meshing, because this has to get refactored and updated to allow for a whole lot more traffic coming and going from stations and landing zones, because it means this is how NPCs get routed in and out as well.
It's also part of bounty hunting, because when you hit ATC or when you call ATC, it tracks you.
Yep.
Like, hey, this person just called. So
yeah,
it's another one of those things. Like, a lot of the systems that they're working on, a lot of features that they're working on, touches a lot of things. And that's why, like, it may seem to some that are not as dogged on all the development things that we are, miss how big these features are. So, like, oh, they've been working on building interiors for X amount of time, or underground facilities, or server meshing. Like, they literally touch everything. And this game is not a small game by square footage or by density.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's messy, to say the least, to add anything. Like, look how long is it taking them to add birds. It's just, in a game this dense with this high, and I'm gonna say the stupid word, fidelity, it just takes so much time to do anything right now. And on top of that, you have a very loud minority of people who like to on Spectrum saying, oh my gosh, my character desynced by a millisecond. How dare this game be at all broken? So you have to balance what you're trying to actually build with the time you actually have to fix the stuff that's already out, so that people are not so upset, but also get the stuff in that you want to. I don't want to be anywhere near the executives at CIG. This is just so much work. I don't want a community manager position at all. I could not do community managing in this team. The bad people are not bad people. The people who get upset and loud would kill me. It's too much. So again, community managers are amazing for this game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Jake is a saint. So they didn't extend the work on Bounty Hunter V2. I imagine it will once we get Q1, but they did add some more work for the two different teams. The really interesting part, though, mission feature and US gameplay feature. So here's mission feature, here's US gameplay feature, working on Bounty Hunter V2. And so you have to wonder where, it's good that these teams are able to work on this feature now, especially given what we've heard from Systemic Services and Tools regarding their work on bounty hunting and the services that feed into it. To me, it means that they are making progress on those enough that these teams are able to continue to work on their end of the future. They're not bottlenecked by it. So I'm hoping we will see more about that, especially after the mention, when they talked about Seraphim Station. The talk about bounty hunting with Todd Pappy, in his multiple mentions was pretty encouraging for me. Because not only is the new Seraphim station very important for cargo, but as we saw, it's very important for bounty hunting. Just like alongside the other LEO stations. And for those of you who don't know, LEO is low Earth orbit. Even though it's not Earth, it's it's low Earth orbit of a Earth-like planet.
I imagine Jared is constantly warring with himself around this time. Like, do I tell them ISC, CitizenCon? So, because he is the content
lead or something like that.
So
creative
community content
lead.
manager. Community content manager. So he is the director of everything basically that gets published to the community. Mm-hmm. So he is above the roadmap, above ISC, above SCL, above Spectrum itself as far as official channels. So
he's the smooth content criminal, Shiny Ova.
Oh my god.
Smooth content criminal. Northern Trooper. You have to say it with a Boston accent. We're getting Boyds. We're getting Boyds. We're getting bats. We're getting bugs. Giant face-eating bugs. Yeah.
Fish.
Actually, like space bats would be kind of cool in caves.
Mm-hmm.
It would be, the scary flying creatures in caves. That you stumble across them and you startle them, and makes you poop yourself. And
just wait till we get Rantas.
Mm-hmm.
Then pick up their crap for a while.
Yeah. Obviously, when people say, oh, they don't care about fixing bugs, they don't work on fixing bugs. Really?
It's one of the biggest sections on the roadmap.
Yeah, they are. They constantly have people from practically every team dedicated to fixing bugs. The US PU gameplay feature team, the EU PU gameplay feature team, the people who make the features, who put all the pieces together to make a feature for you to use in the game. And they have this many people, devs, working on fixing bugs and bringing things up to speed when new tech comes along, to avoid tech debt. That's a good number of people. And that's just those two teams, and there's more teams. This is just the ones that had more work added as part of the Q4 update. So, yeah. The Riddick Bioraptors. Oh, God. Terror. Yeah. They're like Bioraptors / man-eating pterodactyl, those things.
I mean, if eventually we're going to be landing on Vandal space or Vandal planets, don't forget the Vandal dogs.
Yeah. Building interiors, obviously, the sandbox teams are going nuts. Look at how many people are working on building interiors. Now, they added more work, but they have less devs assigned to it. So there went from 7 devs to 5 designers, or 7 to 5 designers, 15 to 13, but they're adding more work in that timeline. Another exciting thing, they're continuing to work on freight elevators. We know that that's a priority. So the other good thing is that it's the US gameplay feature team is adding work to it. And so interacting with freight elevators, getting all that built and added into the universe alongside the other teams. So hopefully we will see those sooner rather than later, because those are also a prerequisite for persistent hangars. But they allow for a lot of things, like loading in vehicles without having to go to a what are the names of the little vehicle pads down at outposts?
You talking about the company, the Platinum Bay?
Yeah, the little Platinum Bay pads. Yeah, without having to fly all the way down there. No, you'll be able to call them in via freight elevator and load them up that way. Life support tier 0, same with just like with artificial gravity, more work getting added, but we know that they've made a lot of progress on those two features over this year after having them demoed to us at CitizenCon. So we're going to be talking about that when we get into resource management in a little bit. Miscellaneous support, more work from all these teams. This is miscellaneous support, and the bug fixing tech debt is where things that aren't big enough to have their own deliverable, but little quality of life fixes and additions that could add to the game. That's where those fall under. So little things where, oh, look, this ship finally has this feature after it being added on this other ship. That's where that falls. Naz, you were talking about the Mission Manager app. Bingo. Here we are.
There we go. Mission Manager. Oh, we skipped all the things. Okay. Sorry, I was managing tabs. I'm back now because I couldn't see half my tabs. Mission Manager app. I'm somewhere. We're in M. There we go. Right after that. All right. Yes. And that did. Interesting. Yeah, because it hasn't. It was updated, but not to the Fog of War. See, this is what I'm talking about. I'm thinking something's afoot. Mostly like completing things. Like, how long have they been working on? They've been working on it since April 20. So they've been working on it for about a year now.
Mm-hmm.
And then Mission Feature have only been working on it since April this year. So April plus 6 months for USPU, and then Mission Feature for the last 3 months. It's a lot of work. Yeah.
Why am I not?
Yeah.
Oh, it's loading. I thought I loaded it all. Whoops.
If you go off the page, it will unload stuff. So.
Oh. Rude.
Yeah, it does. Well, I think if the tab goes into stasis, I forget the term that Chrome uses. If it goes to sleep, then.
Is there a way that I can tell it to not do that?
I am not that much of a power user for Chrome. And I try not to be because Chrome's not that good. Like, I really should use something less power hungry because I have currently 114 tabs open.
Woo!
So I should be using something else.
Here's the work on the Mission Manager app right here. So there's a little bit of work way back here in Q2. Just getting started with USPU gameplay feature. But now we've got a lot more work with mission feature from an engineer and some artists, more art from gameplay feature. So
this is why I love the ShinyTracker, because a year and 2 quarters, that seems like a lot of work. Well, they weren't working on it for about a year. There was the initial burst, which was only part-time work, and then we have mission feature came on, and then support from USPU, it looks like. What happened? Oh, what? Hold on. What happened?
I'm back.
Hello?
There we go. Sorry, I
was
turned the
very
AC down, turned the fan back on. It's getting warm.
I was very confused. Like, I heard you and then I just didn't hear you.
Well, my mic is here and not on my headphones, so I walked away to turn the AC on, turn the fan on because it's getting hot.
I'm sure you said something. I just did not hear you at all, and then I'm like, oh yeah, there's this thing, and then like waiting for feedback. There's the void.
New interdiction scenarios. This is one of those things that's been kicked around, and the can has been kicked down the road many times. But it's good that it is getting work. Let's see. So new interdiction scenarios. So yeah, it's had some pretty big gaps in the work. And that's one thing that I think would make things a lot more interesting just when you're flying around if you got interdicted more often.
And as the description says, not just more
areas.
often. Yeah, not just more often, but adding variation to the difficulty level of interdiction scenarios that players will come across when quantum traveling.
Yeah.
It'll be nice if it's like somebody just got the cool new QED and they're trying to test it out and they have like a cutlass or something. Like, oh, I'm a pirate, stabby stab. And then there's like the professional pirates that like, no, they have a caterpillar there, a big cargo ship to steal your stuff with. They're pulling you out because they mean business, so they probably have bigger guns, more ships, you know.
Well, and I wish interdiction scenarios weren't just you're getting pulled out of quantum by someone on purpose, but also, I'm looking forward to interdiction, not just getting pulled, interdicted, but also, hey, I'm coming up on this thing and it's showing up on my scans. Do I want to drop out of quantum? And having scenarios where, oh, there's somebody who their power plant failed, or they had an overload and now their life support is failing. Do you want to rescue them? Here's having that happen while you're in quantum, would be make things a lot more interesting. It's very Star Trek-esque, which would be a lot of fun to me.
Yep, agreed.
Let's see. So new missions, we knew about Data Heist. We know that they're working on that. Just added one more day. The new player experience. So they added more, mission feature team added 54 days of work. So if you, for people who are wondering, oh, well, how come they only did it for ArcCore and Area 18? It's because this is just how they build everything. They build it once, they work at, they get the feedback on it, they work on their pipeline for it, so that way when they want to build more of them, they can build them faster, more efficiently, with less people, and in the way they want to, without having to rework things. You build one thing once the right way, take the lessons learned, and that way the 3 more that you're going to build after that are built the right way. You don't have to rework them. So the reason Mission Feature Team is adding more work to the new player experience, even after it just got released, is because they're going to add that to the new player experience at Lorville, at Orison, at New Babbage. And this is what that work is. And if you look at the monthly reports, the branding teams are working on the signage for the other landing zones in order to match what they did for Area 18 as part of that initiative. So, and oh gosh, I can't imagine why they would be trying to update the new player experience at all landing zones in the game right now in advance of something. I don't know. Yeah,
Strange.
Couldn't be that they're expecting more new players for some reason. I don't know what that could.
They definitely don't have any major launches coming anytime soon.
No. NPC scheduler service. Az and I have talked about this many times. But this is one of those things that factors into bounty hunting, but also factors into Quanta in general. And the NPCs and the AI. So this is here. We'll look at what the deliverable says. But there's the NPC scheduler service, which is the NPC scheduler is meant to add and remove NPCs to the game, dynamically spawning them into and out of the verse based on NPC archetype, maximum number of NPCs in a given area, and the probability of those NPC archetypes. So
this is what I call the composition of the universe.
Yeah. The based off of the location. Like if you remember at the beginning of the Quanta presentation, when the first one, when they first showed you the star map, and okay, we're going to add 1,000 Quanta, and the Quanta all filtered into the universe from the jump point. They went to different locations. Well, they went to different locations based off of their archetypes. And so depending on what the archetype for that NPC was, is what dictated whether they went to Orison or they went to Everest Station or one of the refineries or one of the mines. The archetype is what decides that for them, the archetype and their own traits.
And that's even a broader example. Like even walking into Area 18, it will decide what NPCs you're seeing, depending on lots of different factors, but one of the main ones I like to point out is time. What time of day is it? If it's in the middle on a Wednesday, there's probably going to be a couple people here and there. But if it's, most people are working. It's a factory planet. So the second they hit lunch or clock off hour, all those people are coming out of their jobs. They're going to be milling around the landing zones. They're going to be packed bars and stuff. So in the middle of the day on Wednesday, you can go to a bar and be pretty empty. So NPC scheduling is one of my really guilty pleasures, I guess is a way you could say it, because it doesn't add a whole bunch of function to the game, but it will add so much in far as vibes, storytelling, and life.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. Outpost, Homestead, Independent, Outlaw. This is just the continue to work on the overlays. Actually, if it's the Sandbox team, this is them producing more outposts and homesteads. Just
It's
continuing
also,
to
I
build
believe,
them.
independent is also what the tile set is that
Yeah.
is going to be the first one that players are able to build.
Well, there's Outpost, Homestead. There's Independent and Outlaw, and yeah, when they're
Yeah, Outpost, Homestead, Independent should be what players are able to build. It will be the first tile set that players
Yeah.
are able to build with.
Yep.
Yep.
Let's see. There we go. Yeah, these are the the Outpost Homestead is a theme is a because below that there's Outpost theme variants, and so theme variants. Adding theme variants to colonialism outposts, which allows us to create different points of interest in the world. Themes will range from abandoned, mining, research, and many more. There will also be just like there are themes for the UGFs. There will be themes for the asteroid facilities, and so Independent and Outlaw are visual overlays for different themes. So
So I may be backwards on that. Maybe colonialism tile set is the one you build with, and then independent is the colonialism
yeah,
that is built by NPCs somewhere else.
yeah,
So I may have gotten that
colonialism
wrong then.
is the structure type. So the way that those structures look, that's the colonialism part, and then Independent and Outlaw are the overlays onto the theme variants. So
That's
when
actually a good way
you
to
have
think about it.
when you have a theme variant for a structure, like research structures and things like that, and then you have the overlays that go over them that make it look like, oh, this is an independent one, versus this one is an outlaw one that has all the graffiti and body parts hanging
Broken
from hooks
bits.
or whatever. Yeah,
Body parts hanging from hooks. Well, that's gruesome.
yeah. So yeah, a lot of work going on in those, continuing to produce them. Pyro space stations, we know, just a little bit more work from the EU Sandbox too, but we know they're continuing to basically the way the monthly report read is they're like wrapping up at least what sounded like ruin. So hopefully that means they're also wrapping up the other small stations. Iceman 1980, are we going to have a doorbell? That'd be like kind of unnerving, if you didn't have some sort of alert that somebody was coming through your door, even if your door's unlocked, like it's a store and you open the door and it goes ding ding, let you know somebody walked in, if you turn around and
I'm
suddenly there's an
hoping-
NPC there, it might just scare the
Now,
shit
this
out
is
of me.
probably never going to happen because it's Star Citizen and not this kind of game. But it'd be really nice if there was a logic system. I don't know a good game other than Minecraft Redstone, but there are more actual like electronic based. Blockscape has a really good one. You get if and or XOR gates. It's much more like circuit board system. And we're able to like code in some like, hey, if this player sensor or if this sensor sees a X player or a player with this crime set or whatever, do this thing. It'd be really nice for Outpost specifically because those are able to be player built environments. Having a way to code into those player environments some sort of behaviors for this for the Outpost.
Let's see. More
Or
work.
it could just be a
on-
ring doorbell, and they
Yeah.
hit the button and it video calls you.
What's the name of that tech where it pops up the person's camera on screen? Is it render to texture or no? It's
Yeah.
Is that it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Had
Thing
that
we
pop
use
up
for
on
video calls.
your Moby. Someone's at the door. Yeah. Yeah. We should have ring doorbells in 2953.
Yep.
More work on Pyro System Planet mission setup. They've talked about how They're to continue to do like the lighting and polish work on planets. The organics team is updating the organics on the planet, which is like the plant life and rock scatter. Yeah, with the cam view. Quantum Sim. Obviously, we knew this was going to get extended. This is like PES and server meshing, where this is going to be continued to work on for a long time, even after we get more stuff introduced to it. We've already had things from Quantum hooked into the game, just not super meaningful just yet. And so we're not going to see an end date for this deliverable anytime soon, but they will let us know when we get more things added. But it's good that they've got this many people working on it. Like, that's pretty incredible. Work on refinery ships. The gameplay feature team, not the vehicle feature team, but gameplay feature team, had work removed from that. So let's see, refinery ships.
Interesting.
Let's scroll down to that.
Interesting.
Okay, so they still have some work scheduled out here at the end. They might be planning on, this might be them planning on, they were going to be working on it out to here, and instead they're going to be basically maybe picking it up here and working on it, into the next year. So we'll see. Probably just got deprioritized in favor of something else. Maybe it was, if they took if they removed work from EU gameplay feature team from refinery ships, but they added a bunch of work for resource management and salvage vehicle munching, it might be that the vehicle munching along with we knew resource management is definitely a priority, but it might be that they are just going to focus on vehicle munching first before they get back to work on refinery ships.
Makes sense.
Pardon me, ship finding.
Makes sense.
Security Network V1. We know that is part of the work on bounty hunting. The Security Network. Here, we'll scroll down to it. Read the description. We have Security Network V0 already in, but Security Network V1 is the full implementation of the security system. Includes other features for which players need a clearance level, such as doors and elevators, but there's a whole lot more to it. So.
This is one of the reasons you'll be hacking.
Yeah, reasons you'll be hacking, but also the right now Security Network V0 doesn't do these things.
Mm-hmm. It just says all players either are or aren't allowed in an area.
Yeah. It doesn't, it also routes criminal sightings to the back-end communications network. It routes it to that, but it doesn't have a means to share it. So that's what the bounty hunting feature and having that app will do. Because right now, if you're a criminal, it doesn't, you can be a criminal and you can be hanging out in comms array distance all day long, and NPC security isn't going to come to you. It isn't part of the system yet. If you have a bounty, you always have their marker. It isn't just based off of check-ins and stuff. And so that's part of what the security network is going forward. But yeah, this is one of those things where hacking is going to be very important.
And also
in order to get around that
with places. So, like in the UGFs, they've mentioned how you'll have different clearances for different areas of a UGF. Mm-hmm. Maybe you're cleared to go down to the executive level and talk with whatever mission giver is there, but you don't have clearance for the factory floor. Unless, of course, you're there to pick up cargo. Well, if you're on a cargo mission, you can go down and get your cargo out of the UGF. But if you want to stealth in and go elsewhere, you can do that. However, if you just get in good with the company that's going there, maybe they give you a bit more leeway on where you can go inside the UGF. So legal, illegal, and sandbox ways of doing security areas that are closed off to most players.
Yeah, you can go in here, but you can't go in that room. And Like if you're walking around the landing zones too, there's plenty of doors in the landing zones, and it's like you look at it and you're like, where does that go? And it says access restricted or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Well, eventually you'll be able to hack those doors to get into certain places, or if you
Ooh,
have
hacking
the right
elevators to like open
Yeah.
up more floors.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be really cool.
Or if you have the right reputation, then you'll be able to use that. Ship trespass got removed from the release view. You can see its work, basically ends right here. We'll see more work added to that probably with the next update on the progress tracker. But instead of it, being we're done, we're ready here. Nope, it's gonna need more time. UGF's obviously going to continue to work on that. A lot of work ongoing with that. So hopefully we will get an update on those. We did have a big update in ISC not too long ago, but continue updating us on those would be great. But obviously, that's a whole lot of green from Montreal Sandbox working on those since the beginning of the year. So we're going to continue to see that work. The virtual AI service, if you remember, virtual AI versus subsumption AI and quanta. Virtual AI are those ethereal AI. So when a subsumption AI that you see walking around goes through a spawn closet door because it's being, it goes to the spawn closet door or hitches a ride on a ship to another location based off of what Nazeris was talking about, the NPC scheduler. It will, once it's no longer visualized, it becomes a virtual NPC and is running on the back end, still continuing its little life. But that's what the virtual AI service is, and that's why we're continuing to see this work. So that way it pairs with what Nazeris was talking about with the NPC scheduler and the spawn closets and all of that. So
it's all coming together.
It's all coming together. That's it for the Progress Tracker Delta report, the changes. I don't think we need to go through the whole scheduled deliverables report, just because if you want to see what is actively being worked on right now at any given time, go check this out. You can also see what is actively being worked on just by using the timeline, which is basically the progress tracker, but shows the gaps in work and a bit more detail. So obviously you can see that these things are all being worked on, but you can see that there's not a whole lot scheduled out into Q3 and Q4 because we need the Q3 schedule for the downstream teams, and we only have part of the Q4 schedule.
Just as like a visual reminder, like this is how many teams are downstream compared to upstream.
Yep.
Like
there's a lot more downstream teams.
A lot more.
Yep. But I do think that we should probably look at the breakdown. So for extra analysis, this is always good. And this is why this is so indicative of, hey, the progress tracker is behind. There are approximately 190 devs out of about 512 or 37%, and it's actually more than that now, with 408 assignments. Because the progress tracker needs to be updated, and those schedules need to be updated. So a lot of those devs, they are working, but the progress tracker just isn't up to date because Jake's been so dang busy, poor guy. Or, sorry, poor person. But this is where you can see what they're being worked on, what they're working on, whether it's a Squadron 42 item, a PU item, a both item, and you can see where the breakdown of CIG's priorities are in general. And then there's just so much information. So I encourage you to check this out. If you have questions, ping Naz, ping myself. We'll help you out. And if we need help, then we'll ask Shiny. We don't ping Shiny directly. Shiny Hopa says, I mentioned it when I was on with you, but the timeline view is slightly more accurate than the report. You'll notice that the Santok guy is missing from the report due to a minor bug. Aha! Okay, that's good to know. Yeah, so the timeline, use the timeline. If you want to, take the time to scroll down through things, read the descriptions, look at the work that's going on and what teams are working on things when, and when there are gaps in the work. That will give you a much better understanding of what's going on, behind the veil at CIG. you know, they are a lot more transparent than people realize. You just have to put the time and effort into it. But that's also why Naz and I are here. So
Yep. And when you see how good the progress tracker or the shiny tracker is, hit the follow button up there, and it will take you to his Ko-fi if you want to help support him.
yes, because Shiny does all this and a whole lot more out of the goodness of his heart. Like if you it's the news, right? The reports. Like if you hold on here, I'll pull it up in my Discord.
Will you introduce the next one? I need to be right back, so I'll be right back, everyone.
Okay. So if you are in my Discord and you follow, you know, or any of the Star Citizen news sort of channels and a lot of Discords, and you see these summaries of like the PU report or the Roadmap Roundup, all that, these are all written by Shiny and his cohorts, accomplices. And so obviously it's a lot of work to summarize all these things and bring you that information in a succinct way. So if you're feeling generous, please consider donating to their efforts. And give me 1 second. All right, I'm going to transition us back to the other screen while I get the tabs set up, and we're going to launch into our Spectrum Pulse for the evening. So 1 second. We'll wait for Nazeris to get back. I gotta pull up my notes.